All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome all of you to today's GOPHER Solutions webinar. And my name is Jesse Stapp. I'm going to be the moderator of today's webinar. And I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us. And the great thing about the webinar series is that we have new folks joining us every single week. So if you are new to the series, welcome. And if you're returning, glad to have you back. This is a monthly webinar focusing on a variety of physical education subjects and topics. And past webinars have included PE teachers and experts in the field on specific activities like assessment, fitness, classroom management, and PE advocacy. We've had a great cast of presenters like Robert Pangrazzi, Dr. John Medina, Gene Blades, and they've done a great job of bringing useful topics and information to the field of physical education. Our webinars will almost always occur the third week of the month, and we will have webinar invites that go out usually around the first part of the month, so keep your eye peeled for that. And all of today's webinar participants will receive a certificate of being with us here towards an hour of educational credit. And then I also wanted to mention that everyone with us here today, we've got you entered into a drawing. We're going to be giving away a set of our UltraFit Circuit Pro tumbling station cards, and that is a $199 value. So stick with us here, and we're going to be doing the winner towards the end of the webinar today. Today's topic is introducing Tabata workouts for PE, and our host is Pete Driscoll. And before I introduce Pete, I just wanted to let everyone know that you will have a chance to ask questions as we go throughout the presentation. We are going to hold those for time's sake until the end. So go ahead and type those. They're only visible to me. You can type those on the right-hand side of your screen, and I'm going to collect those questions as we go, and at the end we'll have a chance to address those with Pete. So today I have the pleasure of introducing Pete Driscoll. I've already mentioned. Pete has been teaching physical education in Vermont since 2006, and he currently teaches 300 students, so that is a huge number. Wow. Grades K through 8 at the Heartland Elementary School. And Pete's undergraduate studies focused on sports management, while his graduate work earned him certifications, in elementary education and physical education. In 2009, he was nominated for the Vermont Teacher of the Year Award, and he earned his CrossFit Level 1 certification in 2010 and incorporates much of the CrossFit philosophy into his PE classes. In addition to that, Pete coaches a middle school fitness team during the school year and runs fitness camps for students of all ages out of his home gym during the summer. Practicing what he preaches, he also trains for obstacle course races, recently finishing in the top 1% at the Killington Bee Spartan race. Nice job, Pete. In 2012, Pete and his wife taught in the elementary classrooms at an international school in Vietnam. Upon returning to the States, Pete and his brother Jay founded Tabata Kids. And since the inception of Tabata Kids, they have presented to individual schools, entire districts, and at local, state, and national levels, including multiple SHAPE conferences. Pete's passion for physical fitness and its proven benefits to enhance cognitive capacity, combined with Jay's ability to create powerful music, sparked the brainchild for the Tabata Kids program. So we're really excited to hear more about that, Pete, and I'm going to hand it over to you, and it's all yours.
Thank you so very much, Jesse. I'm super psyched to be presenting this webinar on behalf of GOPHER. I have had amazing customer service experiences with GOPHER, and to be able to speak on their behalf is a true blessing for me to give back for the amount of support that they've given me in my 11 years as a teacher here in Heartland, Vermont. So thank you so very much for the wonderful intro. I'm super psyched to be talking to the people that are attending this webinar, and I'm excited to share what I've learned about being a teacher and presenting the Tabata workouts both in the physical education realm as well as throughout other parts of schools, being in the classrooms and other things that I'm going to talk about a little bit later in the webinar. So as the intro said, I've been a PE teacher in Vermont for the last 11 years. A couple years ago, I got my level 1 CrossFit certification, and since then, I've made what I've learned in the CrossFit ideology and applying it to my teaching. I've made that a paramount or integral part of what I'm doing with my physical education program here in Vermont. I also have started a CrossFit nonprofit gym, or what they will call a box, here in our school, where middle schoolers access it on a regular basis as part of their PE program, as well as teachers and community members come after school and work out there as well. So in addition to teaching grades K-8, I'm also coaching CrossFit athletes at the high school and the adult levels, as well as my students in the elementary and middle schools. I enjoy coaching anything related to fitness, whether it's nutrition, whether it's recreation, or whether it's people that are pretty serious about competing in one facet of the fitness world or another. I just love being a part of people's progress and helping them achieve their goals. For me, the only thing better than achieving my own goals is helping other people set goals and achieve them. So I've had the opportunity to teach in the classroom, in the PE realm, and I think one benefit to this program is that my wife is a 15-year veteran in the classroom of 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. So when I come up with crazy ideas and ways that I want to implement movement in the classroom, I can run it by her first, and she can kind of quell my zeal and my spirit and give me a realistic approach from a classroom teacher standpoint. I think that's been tremendous in helping me move this idea of the whole Tabata Kids thing forward. So the objectives of the webinar today, I'm hoping that the attendees of it will enhance their knowledge of the HIIT way of training, and it's high intensity interval training, and I'll talk about how I brought that to my school and how it's positively impacted my students, both cognitively and physically. I also want to talk about the implementation of how we might use the Tabata workouts or the Tabata protocol, both in the physical education realm and also in other parts of schools. I also have a couple resources that people can access for awesome music and some other videos and stuff that they can utilize to help educate themselves and their students. And I also hope that that attendees will walk away from the webinar having learned how to create various Tabata routines specific for their teaching environments, whether it's in the classroom or in the gym or outside in the recess yard or whatever their space or their PE setting allows for them. So a big question is, if you haven't heard exactly what Tabata is or how it's used, the question would be, what is Tabata? And Tabata is an interval workout, so we said high intensity interval training, where the people participating in the Tabata will be exercising for 4 minutes with a protocol of 20 seconds of movement followed by 10 seconds of rest. And obviously 20 seconds plus 10 seconds is 30 seconds, so for a total of 8 intervals of 20 seconds of vigorous movement followed by 10 seconds of rest, and then repeated over the course of time for 4 minutes. So when you hear the term Tabata, it's referring to that specific protocol, being 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off for an entirety of 4 minutes. So Tabata is used, like I said earlier, as a high-intensity interval training type of workout. It's more of a vigorous, short burst exercise. What I've learned through my research is that short burst, vigorous exercises help not only improve our physical fitness capacity, but the latest research has shown that it also helps students in the academic environment. It helps improve their cognitive capacity, which is how I was able to bring it to my school and bring it to my district with the empirical data that shows that academic performance can indeed be enhanced through the use of incorporating movement such as Tabata or something that's very intense or vigorous that gets students' heart rate up on a regular basis. So it's short, high-intensity anaerobic interval workouts, and you can see through the picture there that the results of an anaerobic is more of like a sprint style in in contrast to what an aerobic or a longer, slower workout might bring forth to the person that is accessing it. So Dr. Izumi Tabata, and that's where the name came from, is this man's last name. He was a fitness researcher and a professor in Japan, and in the mid-90s, he began to do research to find out what way he could most effectively impact the fitness capacity of his speed skating athletes during the off-season. So after doing a myriad of tests and different workouts and different applications of ways that he could ask his athletes to try to enhance their fitness capacity, he came to learn through his research that the efficacy of the anaerobic workouts were much more powerful in enhancing the fitness capacity of the speed skating athletes. So in the off season, he would do research to find out what type of off-ice training that they could do to become the best athletes they could be, or the best performers that they could be given their training. So that when you hear the term Tabata, it's referring to this guy's last name, but it's also referring to that 20 and 10 work to rest ratio. So the science that he was researching was proven to be that this high-intensity interval training was the most effective way to enhance the VO2 max of the athletes that he was studying. So VO2 max is defined as the maximum amount of oxygen that an individual can utilize. So when you're breathing and exercising, your muscles consume oxygen, and your performance is dictated by how well and how effective your muscles can apply that or utilize that oxygen to your performance, to whatever it is that you're doing. So the science behind the Tabata is based on his research that has to do with processing the oxygen. And he did all sorts of studies, from my understanding. He did all sorts of studies from long, slow aerobic workouts to short, hard anaerobic workouts. He did all sorts of different interval styles of 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, or 40 seconds on, 40 seconds off. And he experimented, from my understanding, for a while. And that 20 seconds of movement followed by 10 seconds of rest, given the studies that were performed with the VO2 max, seemed to be the best way to apply it to his speed skaters. So since that discovery by Dr. Izumi Tabata back in the mid-90s, the term Tabata and the use of Tabata has really become mainstream in the fitness industry. It's become popularized through a number of different facets. The way that I learned about it was through the methodologies and ideologies of the CrossFit programming. I learned about applying Tabata workouts to all different styles of ways that I could increase my fitness performance. So I was doing Tabatas with running. I was doing Tabatas with muscular endurance movements such as push-ups and pull-ups and burpees, and I'll talk a little bit more about that during the webinar. But I found that it really worked for me, and when I was able to link several Tabatas together, I was able to really start to enhance my fitness. For my own story, I live up here in Vermont, and if you've ever been to Vermont, you'll know that the winter here is about, depending on who you ask, 6 to 8 months in length. I say it's more 6 months. My wife says it's more 8 months. And we've been known to, have up to 6 feet of snow on the ground. So if I want to do a spring 5K, training and running outside on the dirt roads, the dirt, icy, snowy roads of Vermont isn't so much an option for me. So I had a goal a number of years ago to drop my 5K time down from, I think it was 21 minutes at the time. I wanted to run a sub 20. And that winter, I committed to doing solely Tabatas. So I do 4 minutes, and roll it right into the next one, into the next one, into the next one. And I was doing lots of body weight movements. I was doing lots of air squats, lots of sit-ups, lots of push-ups, lots of burpees, lots of squat thrusts, lots of jump roping as well. And then I would tie them together and do squats into pull-ups. Any way that I could creatively come up with ways to make it as fun for myself as possible, but also really challenge myself. And I was able to drop my solely using Tabatas without having run at all over the winter when the 5K start. And in Vermont around April when the snow starts to melt. I was able to get out there and run and set PRs without doing a ton of running practice leading up to those workouts or leading up to those races. So that's when I realized that the workout of Tabata was so powerful and so helpful to enhancing the fitness capacity. So after applying it to my own fitness, I thought, wow, this would be kind of cool to start to bring into my PE classes. And I think that the 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off at full intensity kind of lends itself well to the development of my younger students, grades K-5, because I feel like when I work with my K-5 or anyone that's worked with kids at those grade levels, they tend to have trouble with pacing. So kind of all out, rest, all out, rest, all out, rest. And I found that lended itself really well to the needs of my students. So I just started to ask them to do different types of Tabata workouts in our PE classes, which I'll talk about in a couple moments. But what I found is that I could apply for myself and for my students, I could apply this 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off in so many different ways that really the only limitation I had was my own creativity. So I became really pumped and really excited about applying Tabata to my classrooms, and my students had an amazing positive response to it. And at that point, the gears started to get turning for me about what else I could possibly do with it. So in the fitness world, Tabata is used for dynamic warm-ups, and this is also how I apply it in my classes as well. So for instance, we'll do arm circles for 20 seconds and rest for 10 seconds. And then we can do body twists and leg sways and skipping around the gym for 20 seconds with high knees, or doing butt kicks or high knee walks or high knee runs or lunges. Any dynamic warm-up that you include into your workout, into your classrooms, I find that putting it in a Tabata format is really nice for the kids, and I don't have to tell them when to start or stop, because as you'll see in a moment when I talk about the music will tell them when to start and stop, and I find that to be really, really helpful. So I also include it in my PE classes for the cardio endurance piece. So students in my classes will do hand release push-ups, students will do running or jogging, students will do it with jump ropes, students will do it with jumping back and forth over a line, or putting a small piece of equipment such as a pool noodle on the floor and jumping it back and forth over that. I also include hula hoops. I'll talk a little bit more about the equipment in a couple slides from now, but there's many different ways that I have included the Tabata protocol into the cardio endurance, the dynamic warm-ups. Muscular strength, not so much in schools, but I've seen athletes applying heavy weights, doing back squats for 20 seconds and then resting for 10 seconds, or doing bench press or weighted pull-ups, or different ways that you can enhance your muscular strength, even if it's just body weight movements, such as air squats, things like that, to enhance your muscular strength using the Tabata, and then muscular endurance. So I think a cool way to apply it for ourselves is to just go for a run or a jog or a sprint for 20 seconds and then walk for 10 seconds, or jog vigorously or run vigorously for 20 seconds and then walk for 10 seconds. All the different ways that I can switch it up, going from something that's more intense to something that's less intense, and switching back and forth. And I'll also use it with flexibility. So we'll hold a certain stretch for 20 seconds and then rest for 10 seconds and then rotate to another stretch or another isometric hold. My kids tend to love the isometric stuff. So a wall sit for 20 seconds, and then a plank, and then what we do we call a bottom balance, where we just sit on the floor and pick up all of our limbs and our extremities. The only thing touching our floor is our butt or our bottom, and we have to balance like that. And so all the different ways that it can be applied in the personal fitness world, I also believe that I've successfully been able to bring it to the classroom or the PE setting, and it's been awesome. And that's, I think, the true beauty of it. It can really be performed anytime, anywhere. So it can be performed outside in a field, or walking up a hill vigorously and then stopping, and walking and stopping up a hill, or out on the street, or in a gym, or as you'll see in a classroom. It can be done anywhere, which I think is why it has been such a successful endeavor in many different fitness realms, be it in gyms or schools or wherever else. So the music came about when my brother, who was a musician, who was traveling all over the world, noticed that he wasn't able to kind of get into the gym because of his schedule. He had late nights, weekends, and and things like that where he wasn't able to access. So in his hotel room, he started doing Tabatas with a lot of the movements that I mentioned earlier in the webinar. He started doing them in parking lots of hotels. He started doing them in different places that allowed his music profession to continue to go on while he was continuing to exercise. And he came to me one day and he said, Pete, what do you think, instead of looking at a clock that tells me when to start and stop, what do you think if I just create music with a coach in there? And the coach says 3, 2, 1, go, and then you listen to the music, and it's really intense music. And then it says 3, 2, 1, stop after 20 seconds, and you know when to rest. And then the music kind of slows down, and then the music picks up on 3, 2, 1, go. And I said, yeah, that's a pretty cool idea. I think you should look into it. So he created Tabata music, and it became very popular in the fitness world, and to the point where he stopped traveling as a musician because he got married and had a kid, and he's now running his home business selling music on the internet specifically for Tabata, and he's able to provide for his family that way. And I asked him if we could create songs specifically for schools, and we did that, and the students that I teach absolutely love the songs, and the songs are named after different aspects of being a positive way that you can live your life. So we have strength and stamina and spirit, and I'll talk a little bit about those in a moment, but those are the names of the songs. So we have 4-minute versions of those, and then when we introduce them to the classrooms, which I'll talk about in a little bit, teachers were asking, well, kind of 4 minutes is a little too long for me to take out of class. Do you guys happen to have like 2-minute versions of the songs? So we also created 2-minute versions, which have proven to be really fruitful more in the academic realm. So with the music, you don't have to look at a clock. I also find the music really psychs my students up, and it also gets me fired up. And he's creating all sorts of different types of Tabata music now, which is really, really exciting. And when my students hear a new one, they get all fired up. So they seem to really have fun with it, and the music makes it more enjoyable rather than me as a PE teacher saying start, stop, start, stop. The music has proven to be kind of the vertebrae or the foundation for which this whole kind of Tabata thing has caught wind in the district and the state on a national level. It all kind of comes from the power of the music that we've created. So as a teacher, I don't really make any money off this whole Tabata thing. It's just an idea that I had, and I love to share it with my colleagues. And we found the easiest way to share the music with anyone who wants to access it is through iTunes. So we have a website, TabataKids.com. You could go there, or you could just go to iTunes and search Tabata Kids Music, and that's the easiest way to access it. We don't make any money because of the cost of the recording and everything, so it's just that's the easiest way to get it out because everyone has an iPhone or an iProduct that they can access those songs via iTunes. It's also on Amazon Play and Google as well. So Tabata in physical education, like I said earlier, I find I'm really only limited to my creativity. I presented at a number of conferences and seminars, and the really cool thing about doing that is I've gotten a lot of feedback from teachers who have attended my sessions and then have returned to their school and have contacted me and said, hey, have you ever thought about doing it this way? Or have you ever thought about doing it this way? So I've had teachers come back to me and say, you know what I did was I put my students in groups of 4, and I asked each kid to create 2 movements or pick 2 movements, and then they would lead the group. And I have classroom teachers who say, oh yeah, I do Tabata in my classroom, and I have a list on the wall of all the movements that we do, and I ask one student to come up and pick the 8 movements, or I ask 8 different students to pick their movements. And it really gives the students ownership about ways that they can take ownership of their fitness. So when the students can create ways to implement it and are part of that decision-making process, we found that they're obviously a lot more invested in it, and it's a lot more effective. So we have students leading in some schools, we have teachers leading in some schools, and just the different ways that it can be used is really, really cool. I also implement a lot of equipment with mine. So if, for instance, maybe at the end of a throwing or catching unit, I'll ask students to partner up and throw a yarn ball overhand back and forth for 20 seconds, and then underhand back and forth for 20 seconds, and then throw a high one, roll one, all the different ways that I can kind of get a quick assessment of the skills that I've been teaching, and I can do that kind of in that 4-minute Tabata, which is really, really nice. And then given different people's space and resources, in Vermont I have a nice gym with a rubber floor, but we don't really have much money for equipment. So I've used Tabata with equipment-free movement for many, many years, and I love that. And I can also incorporate what little equipment I have, but I think it's cool that it lends itself to anyone who wants to try to apply it to their specific space or their equipment access, which for some schools is very limited and for some schools very broad. And it's very easy for a teacher like me or someone who's been comfortable working with kids for a while just to make those movements age appropriate. So for my kindergarten classes, I'll ask the kids to raise their hand and share what their favorite animal is, and I'll write it on the whiteboard each time a kid names an animal, and we'll list 8 animals, and then off we go with a Tabata, and I'll say, okay, when he says 3, 2, 1, go, we're all going to move like tigers. And for 20 seconds, the kids move like tigers, and then we rest for 10 seconds, and then they all move like peregrine falcons, because that's the fastest animal on the earth. And then we'll all act like elephants, and then we'll all act like cheetahs. And I do other creative things with it, so I'll ask kids to act things out other than animals. So I'll say, okay, for the next 20 seconds, we're all going to be firefighters. Let's go put out the fire, and for the next 20 seconds, we're all going to be soldiers marching in a parade, and for the next 20 seconds, we're going to pretend that we're climbing a mountain. So I've made it work for all of the ages that I teach, grades K through 8, in addition to incorporating it into my fitness team of middle schoolers and also with the elite high school athletes that I work with that are accessing my camps to enhance their fitness capacity to apply to whatever sport or whatever specialized skill that they're hoping to improve upon. So sample uses of Tabata, like I said earlier, we use them with locomotor skills often. So we'll do skipping, hopping, galloping, jumping. I'll use it with manipulative skills. So with a paddle and a ball, we can, for 20 seconds, bounce it on one side of the paddle, and then for the 20 seconds next, we'll balance it on the back side of the paddle. We can walk around the room and try to balance it on our paddle while keeping it on top of, say, like a waiter that's carrying food to a restaurant. We can also test other types of manipulative skills with those hockey sticks or lacrosse sticks or basketball dribbling, whatever it is that you're using to teach for your manipulative skills. I've found ways that I can incorporate it into a Tabata. So creative movements, like I talked about with the animals and the different ways that kids can move creatively. So we'll move really hard and stomp our feet, or we'll move really soft so we can't hear any footsteps, or we'll move really low to the ground, or we'll move really high. We'll make our body as tall as possible and move and switch every 20 seconds. We can also change our pathways, levels, and speeds. So I just mentioned the levels. We can run zigzag. We can run circular patterns. We can run straight lines. We can combine those and do them fast, slow, medium pace. So all the different ways that you might incorporate some of those movements into your regular class, I found when you apply that Tabata music, the kids are just psyched and they're really excited to use it. And as I mentioned earlier, we use jump ropes, we use noodles, we use paddles. I use the lines on the floor. I just have a basketball court painted on the floor in my gym. So we do a lot of like a skier back and forth over the lines, or we run along the lines. I call it like a train. You must stay on the lines. Or crossing your feet over the line and then straddling and crossing and straddling to work on some of those rhythmic movements. All the different ways that you might apply it in your regular teaching. You can just kind of pull it together and kind of blast it for 4 minutes with those 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, and I find it's really, really helpful. And then like I spoke about earlier, I also do a workout of the day, which I'll talk about in a moment, but I have the kids do some sort of workout. All my students, grades K-8, so my students will come in, we'll do an introductory activity, and then we'll get into our workout of the day, and then we get into the lesson. And I use Tabata quite often when we do our workout of the day. So some sample routines here. If I were to do 8 different movements with a Tabata over the course of the 4 minutes, one sample routine that I'll have my students do is jumping jacks, followed by push-ups, into the high knees, followed by sit-ups, butt kicks, vertical jumps. We'll hold a 20-second plank right into the foot fire, where you move your feet up and down as fast as you can. Like I said, here's an example of some locomotor skills and ways that I'll apply it with the students there. And I'll do these movements for a dynamic warm-up as well with my older students, as like I will with an assessment for my younger students. So running, galloping, skipping, jumping, walking backward, sliding, and then walking like animals, bears, or crabs. So there's many different ways that I will apply it with the routines. So there's 8 30-second intervals for 4 minutes total, as I mentioned earlier. And here's another cool thing is the ways that you can kind of manipulate the movement. So if you're really trying to drive home a certain skill, you could do the same movement 8 times. I don't tend to do that so often because kids get bored, but say with my more advanced students, if we really want to build proficiency in the air squat, and I want to really dial in the cues on that, heels on the floor, hips back, weight on your heels, chest out, chin up, and practice that over and over again, I would drive that home by using 8 times in a row. I also do 4 movements, and we'll repeat them. So we can do 4 movements and then repeat all 4 movements again. And if you want to incorporate all the different muscles in the body, so pick a lower body muscle builder, pick a core builder, pick an upper body muscle builder, and maybe a cardio or a metabolic conditioning movement, so you can kind of get a full workout in that 4 minutes. Or you can go 2 movements and alternate. So I'll often do like an isometric. We'll do wall sit plank, wall sit plank, wall sit plank, wall sit plank for the entire 4 minutes. Or the one that I use the most is the 8 different movements, especially with my youngers. Acting like animals or jumping over the lines, pretending all the lines on the floor are rivers and streams, and we don't want to get our feet wet. We're running around the gym, jumping over the lines. So coming up with 8 different movements, and then a lot of times I'll ask kids what their favorite sport or their favorite activity is, and I'll write those down, and then we'll pretend to do those. So for 20 seconds, we are pretending to be snowboarders, and then we're pretending to be basketball players, and we're pretending to be clowns juggling at the circus, or whatever it is that I want to apply to my youngers, as well as some of the more structured stuff I do with my older students, 8 different movements. And then, like I said, it can be led by the teacher, or I'll often ask my students to lead and come together and figure out what they want to do. For homework assignment for my middle schoolers, I'll ask them to create their own Tabata, and then I'll kind of put them all together in like a lottery. We'll pull one out, and we'll do that student's Tabata. And it's cool because in the CrossFit world, a lot of the benchmark workouts are named, so these kids get to name their own workouts. They either, they can name their own name, or they can use an animal, and they get really fired up about that. So I love how students can lead and teach each other a lot of the movements that they've learned, or a lot of the routines that they've learned. So the teacher feedback from me since I presented on the national scale has been that teachers tend to use it for their stretching, for teaching the elements of fitness, the 4 elements of fitness. Teachers are including it. Like I said, they're acting, their students are acting things out during it. I don't use it a ton for teaching dance. Dance is probably my biggest learning curve. As a PE teacher, I need to improve my ability to teach dance quite a bit, but I've gotten feedback from teachers who are using it in their dance units as well, in a cooperative way, where students have to, maybe a group of 4 students have to work together to come up with a Tabata to present to the class. So that's one way that students can work cooperatively together. Or asking students to take leadership roles and lead Tabatas is another way. And then the other feedback that I've gotten is just that the music is very powerful, and it's very helpful for motivating the kids and inspiring the kids to want to exercise. So as I stated earlier, my students come in, we do a warm-up activity, a game of tag or something that gets them moving right away with very little directions. So they don't have to sit. They're so amped up for PE when they walk into the gym that the last thing I want to do is sit them down and give them a ton of directions. So I'll do that after, and I'll do that after we perform our intro activity and then our workout of the day. And a lot of times I'll just throw on a Tabata and we'll completely mix it up. We'll do different things all the time. The saying in CrossFit is that routine is the enemy, and I believe that, and I think that that's really applicable here. Now, as a teacher, I believe in the power of routine, and everything that I do is very routine and very structured. So they know the expectation about every aspect of my class, but as far as the workout goes, mixing it up and mixing up the routine in that way is what keeps them excited. So please don't confuse with I run a very routine class, so kids understand that. So we do a workout of the day every day in my classes, and a lot of times it is Tabata. Sometimes I'll do something else, like run back and forth from one side of the gym to the other and see how many times you can do in 1 minute. If you want to count, great. If you don't want to count, no worries. But Tabata is something that we do often and something that my students tend to look forward to. So as I mentioned, I'm also married to a classroom teacher, and the the strength of this program is that it has been implemented in classrooms as well. So students will take a Tabata break. Teachers will take a Tabata break, and they'll just put on the music, and the students will exercise behind their desks for the 4 minutes. And then if managed or taught correctly, the students can, and I've seen it happen, so I know it's possible, the students will calm down and get right back into their work instead of being all fired up and not being able to continue on. So a lot of times in my school, if a teacher sees the class is starting to get loose or starting to lose focus, they'll just ask them to stand up, push in their chairs, perform a Tabata, and then they'll kind of settle down and get back to work. I've been contacted by teachers who have a loudspeaker, and they'll do it to start the school day. They'll play it over the loudspeaker, and every student and teacher in the school will do a Tabata together over the loudspeaker to start their day, which I think is really cool. I have schools that use it at recess, and I have schools that use it as a reward and activity. Actually, at the end of our year last year here at my school, we had all 300 students in the school in the gym, and we all performed a Tabata together. And for those kids to see their teachers doing the Tabata, and one of the movements was teachers run around the room and give as many high fives to students as they possibly can. The kids were so fired up about it. So it kind of sounds like exercise as a reward, but it has proven to be extremely fruitful in my environment, and I've gotten great feedback from other teachers who are applying it as rewards in their schools as well. So I think one benefit to being a PE teacher is that I can teach the routines to the students, and then we as a team, myself and my students, can teach it to their classroom teachers. Instead of just saying to teachers, here, try this, I've learned being married to a fourth grade teacher that those classroom teachers have so much on their plate that they don't want more stuff to figure out. But if I teach the routine to the students in the class, and then we go into the classroom together and teach it to their teachers, the students have already learned it, and it's a lot easier for the teachers to manage. So we ask them to stay silent, we ask them to stay on their feet, we ask them to stay in one spot. I call it the 3 S's: silence, stay on feet, and spot. So the students are respectful in their classroom, and they're not running around the classroom. They're performing most of their movements in one spot. My goal was to release a bunch of videos on our website, tabatakids.com, to show ways that we can implement it into the classroom. Once this whole project got launched, I was blessed to have my first child, who's now 14 months old, and I haven't gotten around to creating and releasing videos. There are a couple on the website there, but not nearly as many as I'd like, so my goals going forward are to put more free and accessible videos on our website, tabatakids.com, that teachers can put on their smartboard, and I can actually, from the smartboard, I can lead the Tabata in that video for the teacher. And I've had a lot of teachers that have contacted me to make their own Tabata videos, which is really cool. And then they put them on their school website, and then teachers can use them and share them amongst each other. So I try to make it simple for the teachers and have the kids help with that. And when the kids help create the routines, they get more excited about it. And when they're excited about sharing it with their teachers are more likely to use it in the classrooms. So the goal is to really make it as easy as possible for the teachers. And then also on that website, there's a brain science tab where you can click on it. And all of the foundation for this whole thing came from the book Spark that I've read by Ratty. And just the first chapter in that book was enough to really get me fired up to try to implement the Tabata stuff within my school. And the brain research is out there to bring to your districts, to bring to your administrators, to bring to your school boards, to show that this stuff does work. And a simple Google search will yield that, as well as a lot of the Shape America, et cetera, newsletters, as well as some of the stuff that I have on my website. I'm not able to keep it as up to date as I would like, but there's definitely some relevant information on there that if you're looking for a place to start and you need empirical data, which all schools do when they're going to implement something, this shows that it's really beneficial to our students and enhancing their academic performance. So with that, I'm concluded with the things that I had to say. I would encourage any questions that you might have. Also on that website, Pete at tabatakids.com. I'm sorry, at that website, tabatakids.com, you'll see my email address, which is Pete at tabatakids.com. And if you'd like to shoot me any emails or ask any questions, I will get back to your email in the same order that I received it. And we have a lot of things happening at the school. We just released a CrossFit video that went viral in the fitness community. You could just Google HES CrossFit. That's the name of our CrossFit program out of our school, and that video has gained a ton of traction, giving credence to what we're doing with the Tabata as well. So I'm getting inundated with emails, which is awesome, and I'm super excited to get back to everyone. I would just ask for your patience if you were to email me directly. So I believe I'm going to move on to the next slide here, which talks about the raffle, and I'm going to be psyched to talk to Jesse and open it up for any questions that any of you guys might have out there.
Yeah, thank you, Pete. Awesome stuff, and what a great resource you've provided for the schools. TabataKids.com seems like a great place to check out. I know this type of training can be somewhat intimidating, but you gave us some really great ideas to incorporate this in our own PE program. So thank you for discussing some of those different ways that we might add this to our schools. And we did have some questions as we went through here. And before I give one to you here, Pete, one question that we usually get every month here is if the webinars are recorded, if you happen to miss any part of today's webinar. They are recorded, and you will see that information, and the recordings will be available probably early next week. So just keep an eye peeled. If you had to miss a few minutes here, you can always re-watch that material and see the full webinar early next week, so keep an eye peeled. And we did have a couple attendee submissions for questions, and I thought this question was great because a lot of us do teach the younger kiddos. The question was, I teach kindergarten only, and are there any applications for Tabata within my curriculum? So specifically with the younger kids, Pete, any suggestions there?
Yeah, so like I said, I teach K-8, so half the students I teach are on the younger end, and then I actually, to be quite honest, I have the most fun applying my Tabata stuff with my Ks. I love my Ks, they're so excited. I do more creative movement with them than I do like with the fitness stuff. So like I talked about asking the kindergartners to select their favorite animals and act like animals, or you know, move with different patterns, or move with different types of creative movements. A lot of times we can pretend to be different things in ways that our body can move. So we can move, like I said, we can move soft, or we can move hard, or we can move like robots. We can dance. We can throw our own little dance party for 20 seconds. And as far as the curriculum goes, whatever it is that kindergartners are asked to have mastered by the end of that kindergarten year, be it skipping, galloping, jumping, that type of stuff, I apply that on a daily basis to my kids. And a lot of movement exploration. So a lot of, let's try to move our body in a way that no one else in the world is moving the same as us. Or let's move our body as if we're walking on clouds. Or let's move our body as if our body is thunder and lightning. What might that look like? So lots of different applications of creative movement more in the kindergarten realm than I don't do a whole lot of the, cardio endurance and the strength endurance with push-ups and stuff like that.
Awesome. Yeah, great advice. And it sounds like a lot of fun. I might have to talk to my gym about doing some stuff like that. That's cool. Great. So the ideas that you mentioned, getting ideas and feedback from the teachers after you've presented at state or national conferences, when they're doing Tabata in their own programs, do you have any suggestions on ways teachers can keep connected on this? Is it social media, other platforms? I know you mentioned that viral video. That seems like a great way to kind of get the word out about this and spread that a little bit.
Yeah, so I love teaching. I love my interaction with students. I would say one of my weaknesses as an educator is I don't love spending my time on social media. So I don't have a huge social media presence. I do have an Instagram account, and a lot of the HES CrossFit stuff I do, we have Facebook pages and websites and that kind of stuff. But as far as like my social media presence or learning about the Tabata Kids program, there really isn't a ton out there, because like I said, when a lot of this launched, I was in the process of trying to figure out the whole fatherhood thing at the same time. And I don't have a clear answer for the best way to access that information other than to follow us on Tabata Kids and to go to that website. And then I've performed at the Shape America conferences. So if you were to go to one of those, I don't think I'm going to be presenting in Boston this year, but those types of things. And then, yeah, just any online conversation or anything that goes on in the social media platform, I just like to find that stuff out myself as well.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think you hit on this a little bit. If there's anybody that's more of a hands-on learner, one question that we got was if we want more training in person on things like Tabata or CrossFit at a state conference is a great resource you had mentioned. Are there any other resources for that type of training?
I've kind of just, this Tabata Kids thing was just a brainchild with my brother and I, and I've gotten lots of requests for professional development. In order for me to do that or for it to happen, I would have to stop teaching full-time, which I don't see happening in the near future, so I'll do them every now and again. Obviously, I live up here in Vermont. It's kind of isolated. I'm doing a professional development at a school in a district in Massachusetts in a couple weeks, but that hasn't been, it was kind of a decision that we had to make as a family to continue to teach instead of branching off. So other than what CrossFit.com offers for training, they have a CrossFit Kids class. You have to be a CrossFit Level 1 certified trainer to access that as a prerequisite. Yeah, I would just say the national conferences and asking the people who run those state conferences to get those in there. As time goes on, possibly presenting this Tabata Kids initiative at summer conferences or times on the weekends or stuff when I might be available, I'd be happy to do that, and I actually love that. I love interacting with people, meeting people for the first time and seeing their excitement about it. It's really, really thrilling for me. So if I can continue to reach people, I'd love to, but I don't know specifically of ways other than kind of stuff that my brother and I have put out to really access this stuff.
Great, yeah, I appreciate the info there, Pete, and I appreciate everybody submitting questions, lots of good ones there. And we've got a few more things before we wrap up here, but I would like to remind everyone just to keep an eye peeled for that certificate of participation, and again, that'll be good towards 1 hour of continuing education. That'll also be early next week. That should be an email to you. And then you'll also see the invite for next month's webinar. So keep an eye peeled for that. Hopefully you can join us on that. And I also wanted to announce the winner of the UltraFit Circuit Pro tumbling station boards. And the winner is a teacher in Georgia, Oscar Bennett. So Oscar, we will be in touch with you shortly after the webinar here, and we'll arrange to get those boards out to the school. Congratulations on that. And I just wanted to sincerely thank everyone for attending today, and hope you can join us on future webinars. Hopefully you got something good out of today, and have a great day. Appreciate it.